at the time, comes out and says, I don't think she was doing it on purpose. The coach says that. Go all the way to the front. This is how she plays. Look,
damn, girl.
She's obviously very sweet. She doesn't at all have any negative intent. Yeah, at all. She doesn't hit hard, and she plays very clean basketball.
Another white privilege.
Watch what she does to the eyes. You see?
Ooh, wow.
The play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real
That's her
time.
in back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's
in
her
the
in the
picture.
back, and that's the foul.
Here comes
Still up.
kindness.
I stand by them. I will always stand by them.
Amen.
Everybody else can go to hell.
Oh, wait a minute.
Kindness.
Wait a minute.
So you know what? We need kindness.
Grace.
They go high, you go.
Grace.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
When they
wholesome
go
Christian. And
low,
she goes, hey, by the way,
we go
go to hell, and then
Yeah.
you leave.
And
Walking,
you
talking
run up.
contradiction.
Everybody else is trying to divide our locker room. No, not having your players back will do quite the adequate job at doing that.
Patrick Bet David didn't spend any time. He looked straight into the camera, played the footage, and said what a lot of people were already thinking. Instead of facing the criticism head-on, Stephanie White tried to walk it back days later after seeing the action happen in real time.
After the Dejanay Carrington clothesline from hell incident the other day, in which she came out and said, "Oh, Dejanay's she's not a dirty player. She just plays real hard. Blah, 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 blah." I mean, look, she turns into the Charlie Brown teacher pretty quickly with a lot of people. At least with me, she does. The moment I realize she's going to do it again and not back her own player, yeah, I'm out. I got to tell you, one of the most obvious traits of a terrible leader, not taking any responsibility.
It's just getting started. Dejanay Carrington seems to be attempting to block Sophie Cunningham, but instead he catches her across the neck, causing Cunningham to fall immediately and necessitating a courtside check by trainers. The hit is instantly deemed a flagrant 2, and Carrington is disqualified before the television has even finished replaying it from a different angle.
She has to be fired immediately. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White walked past her own player Sophie Cunningham to check on Dejanay Carrington after the hard foul.
Anyone in that arena could see how terrible it looked without watching a slow-motion replay. If you look at Stephanie White's face on the sidelines at that exact moment, you can see that her eyes are focused on the play. She's not looking down at a clipboard, nor is she facing an assistant coach. She is watching it in real time from a few feet in front of her own bench. That specific detail is important because, a few days later, Stephanie White tried to quietly change that element of the story.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a hard foul. I don't think that Dejanay intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did, but it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But, one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose a hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck.
Stephanie White responded without hesitation when reporters asked her about the foul right after the game. She asserted that she didn't personally object to the harsh foul, that DJ would give it her all every night, and that no one was coming in for a straightforward layup against her. She said she didn't think Carrington intentionally went for the neck, even though she had only been a few feet away when the incident occurred. That is not how a coach who didn't witness the play would respond. It's the response of someone defending a player she personally coached for 2 seasons in Connecticut.
I can't believe that Stephanie White kind of stood up for Carrington. You would never see Cheryl Reeve, Becky Hammond doing this. You may think something, but you sit in a press conference and say that in front of your team? You don't do that. That's how you lose the team. The team will go against you. What? I'm blown away by that. You can think, oh, I used to coach her, talk to her on the side, whatever, but you don't go on national news and basically put down your own team.
This isn't a coach denigrating a player from a different squad. This individual operated a locker room with Carrington, got to know her personally, and developed a sincere bond with her. When it came time to call the foul exactly as it appeared, White muted her response.
And why is Fever coach Stephanie White defending Dejanay Carrington over her own player? That is absolutely bizarre, considering you can watch the replay of that, and it was absolutely unacceptable what happened to Cunningham. Both Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Collins are wonderful role models for young children, and they play the game exceptionally well. Sophie Cunningham said that the hit by Dejanay Carrington was intentional, but Sophie Cunningham's coach sided with Carrington. Carrington is a Chicago Sky Guard that was once coached by White. I just can't understand why the WNBA is not doing more to protect their players. When Stephanie White was interviewed, she said she doesn't oppose the foul, but she definitely doesn't think it was intentional. That Carrington plays her butt off. That's a pretty generous interpretation of what happened to Sophie Cunningham.
The reaction to that press conference was immediate and loud. Fans sat courtside were obviously incensed as soon as the replay appeared on the Jumbotron. Videos of the hit went viral on social media in a matter of hours, with millions of views by the next morning. Analysts started asking the same question. How is it possible for a player's coach to say that she doesn't object to a flagrant 2 foul that obviously hurts the player? As the criticism mounted, Stephanie White found herself under more and more pressure to clarify or reconsider what she had previously said on tape. The mounting pressure explains what happened a few days later, when White addressed the issue again in front of a very different set of cameras and in a very different tone.
In the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time.
3 days after the first incident, Stephanie White stood at a podium with a totally different tone. She said that she didn't really observe the action in real time because she hurried straight off the bench to a planned press conference. She didn't realize how awful it looked until she saw the replay. She emphasized that she stands by each and every one of her players, claiming that she takes it personally when someone suggests that she doesn't support them. The problem is that, in sideline footage from the original broadcast, she seems to be peering at the play as it is happening. She hasn't been sidetracked or turned away by a substitute. She is facing the court, so she can observe where the foul occurred. What the cameras captured that night doesn't seem to align with her assertion that she didn't see anything in real time. When viewers re-watched the sideline angle along with her later explanation, the story became much harder to reconcile.
I couldn't see it.
Say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real
That's
time.
her in the back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
I went straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's her in the back, and that's the foul. What do you mean you can't see the foul?
Unbelievable.
And she says she got a better view than some of the referees got. And then this is how she comes and cries on TV about the criticism she got. How dare people on social media call her out? Go for it.
This is what generated a lot of discussion on the internet. The original sideline angle was placed next to her subsequent statements at the press conference after someone broke down the video frame by frame. The contrast makes it difficult to conclude that she simply didn't see the show. Her head doesn't appear to move, but her eyes appear to follow the action from start to finish. Instead of seeing everything that happened on that court 3 days later in a highlight reel, she appeared to be there in real time. Why change the story? One explanation might be that Stephanie White is familiar with DJ Carrington and served as her mentor. Her later comments were interpreted by some as an effort to maintain that friendship, rather than being honest about what she witnessed until the clamor became too great for her to ignore.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing. Because they are f***ing playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win.
This is the portion that initiated the online dispute and most obviously illustrates the dilemma. During that same series of news conferences, White raised her voice on stage and reassured everyone in attendance, including those watching from home, that she would always stand by her players. She rides with them regardless of what others outside that locker room think. It sounded passionate and real. It seemed like a coach taking a firm stand to protect her entire team from outside criticism. But in particular, support some players? Because on that specific play, one of her guys was actually hurt. Sophie Cunningham is wearing the same jersey. She practices in the same locker room, on the same roster, and under the same head coach every day. If loyalty is supposed to flow equally in both directions, that same passionate energy should have been present when Cunningham required her own coach to realize how terrible the hit seemed, rather than 3 days later and only after the story had erupted online.
And then she put both hands up right after. But Dejanay's not doing things half speed, right? Like she's swinging hard and coming.
This story didn't end quietly since it becomes harder to ignore the pattern at this point. Cecilia Zandalasini of the Golden State Valkyries was being guarded by Carrington when he struck her in the eye as she sought for the basketball a few days after the Cunningham foul. No flagrant foul was called, and no technical was assessed. But the video rapidly went viral on social media since it was similar to what had happened days earlier. Another play when contact appeared to land on the opponent's face rather than the ball. One isolated incident can legitimately be regarded as an accident. If this kind of incident occurs again with a different opponent, there are problems that need to be looked into rather than ignored.
Put you on the spot. Now here we have her completely so far away from the basketball, just slapping Tiffany Hayes in the face. Let me just reach and see if I could grab some face real quick. Just smacking Tiffany Hayes in the face. Not really that big of a deal. Steph, any thoughts on this one?
One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And
Fair enough.
It wasn't just that. Later in the same game, following another contentious possession, Carrington again caught Tiffany Hayes across the mouth. That is two separate incidents of contact landing on an opponent's face in a single appearance, following the flagrant foul against Cunningham a few days earlier. Similar tendency can be seen in clips from previous seasons of her career. Strong fouls that appear to make contact above the shoulders rather than cleanly on the ball. That is more than one horrible night when taken out of context. Given this history, Stephanie White's initial defense, that Carrington simply plays hard, becomes less plausible, which at the very least raises legitimate questions. If it were just one aggressive defender having a rough week, fans might easily ignore this. However, when similar types of contact happen throughout multiple games, opponents, and seasons, it becomes a trend worth examining. Additionally, a coach with real authority over that athlete should address it head-on rather than merely rationalizing it away.
She comes in here in performative anger, and I look at it this way. This is not an apology. This is justification, an excuse wrapped in emotion with performative outrage. That's what I think. Wow. And she's glancing at the paper there. You know, sincere apologies don't need a one-pager. That was likely written by, I'll say likely, I don't know, likely written by the Fever PR flack and likely approved by the league. Every statement that goes out here, the league wants the...
I didn't even think about the league. Fever, yeah, it needs to clear the Fever PR, but clearing the league, that's an interesting perspective I have not heard yet. Did the league see this before Stephanie went out and did that? It's a very interesting point, Tom.
The uproar to stop, but they like the eyeballs. But this is going over the waterfall. And I look at it this way. If I was on the board, I would be saying to the CEO, you know what? I think this thing has gone over the waterfall here, and I think we need to make a change. We need to make a change in leadership. And if I was an owner of the Fever, I would fire her.
I would as well.
I would say, I don't think that was...
You can't back up the players.
Commentators started pointing out just that when the second incident against the Valkyries went viral on the internet. Commentators who were already skeptical of White's post-game comments took advantage of the Valkyries game to demonstrate that their concerns weren't unwarranted. If Carrington's aggressive style continued to result in contact with opponents' faces while her previous coach continued to find ways to lessen the criticism, the discussion would stop being about a single hard foul. It became a question of whether White was ready to hold her ex-athlete responsible or if their personal relationship made it more difficult.
Every day these women put their on the line.
They're not soldiers. They're ball players, ma'am. They don't need to get beat up on the court.
Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
Oh, girl. Well, Stephanie, ma'am, clearly you did not stand and back your players who were deliberately being struck on the court. But somehow you made this about you. Somehow you're the victim in all of this. This is about basketball, ma'am. This is not about you. Stop playing the victim. You failed your player as a coach. There's even video out there where you were walking right past her after the stuff happened.
That's the real struggle that drives the whole story. DJ Carrington was trained by Stephanie White for 2 full seasons before any of them attained their current roles. Fans didn't make it up to stir up controversy, and it's not a small detail. When you spend so much time teaching someone, you build real trust and a relationship that doesn't always end when you're on different benches. Therefore, rather than evaluating the play solely as a coach responsible for her own injured player, some fans interpreted White's initial response when the play happened in front of her as an indication that she was defending a player she still had a relationship to. Instead of seeing how serious the incident seemed, White's initial reaction was to portray it as Carrington just playing rough. Then came the backlash, which intensified hourly. Fans were obviously incensed both online and at the arena, and there were signs that some of White's own players were unhappy with how the incident was handled. During a nationally televised game, their head coach appeared to downplay a blow that knocked a player to the ground, which intensified the dispute. When it became difficult to ignore that response, White withdrew her first comments. At that point, the outside pressure was too strong to ignore, and it became evident why she hadn't seen the action happen in real time. But that explanation raised another question. Both the sideline tape that fans had been rewatching and her confident post-game comments about Carrington's aim and competitive nature seemed to contradict it. If she hadn't seen the drama play out in real time, her initial response could have been less clear. Because of that inconsistency, this narrative goes beyond a coach mispronouncing her words once. The controversy is sustained by the change itself, which was tracked step by step. A confident defense immediately following the game, a revised explanation as criticism mounted, and ultimately an impassioned speech about supporting her players that, to some viewers, sounded as though White was defending herself as much as anyone else.
I think there's just been a lot of outside noise, but our locker room is good, and that's what it is to be an Indiana Fever on the staff. As a player, that when you come here, that's going to be one of the things that's going to try to distract you. But our locker room in there, it's tight, and we have each other's backs. Coach loves us. She didn't see the clip. At the end of the day, she didn't see the clip, and you know what, Dejanay, she is a hell of a player. She's a great defender, and so she coached her for I don't know how many years up in Connecticut. So give her flowers, and she didn't see it, and that's okay. Me and Steph are great. Steph is great with all of us, and so it's really the outside noise that's trying to distract us, but we're good.
That commitment seemed to point solely in one direction, despite the fact that it was sincere. In actuality, Cunningham was hurt. Cunningham was the one who needed her own coach to immediately see how serious the crash was. While the player White used to train seemed to be given the benefit of the doubt, the player who was harmed had to wait days before her own head coach publicly acknowledged how severe the incident seemed to be. None of this calls for drawing unfavorable conclusions about Stephanie White's personality. Genuine relationships that coaches build with their clients over time may occasionally have an unintentional effect on how they react to sudden pressure. But when the video appears to show her watching the play in real time, when her post-event comments don't match the explanation she gave days later, and when the same player was involved in another incident of a similar nature that same week, it becomes harder to dismiss the incident as a singular miscommunication. Some viewers see it as a coach who saw what happened, initially stood up for a player she had taught, and only changed her account when the criticism became inevitable. Declaring your unwavering support for your athletes from a podium sounds strong. But giving equal support to all of them, even the injured player, is not the same as appearing to take a side and hoping no one sees.
Yeah, I talked to Steph earlier in the day too, and I think we forget a lot of times, like, we're human and she has feelings, and there's moments that are really hard, and sometimes that's just the job you sign up for. But at the same time, like, it's okay to feel those emotions. And I just told her, like, I've been through the same thing. Like, there's been days where I've been really upset, and you can have the thickest skin in the world, but sometimes it does get to you. And I think our world is just like, we love to hate, we love to divide. Like, that's all we want to do. Like, nobody wants to see each other succeed, and I think that's a really painful thing for myself to watch. I feel like we need to do a better job at uplifting each other, and I can assure you there was no way we were losing this game tonight. And I told her that before the game. Like, there was no way we were losing this game for her. And, it's tough. Like, that's my head coach. Like, I hated that our fans booed her before the game. That made me a little sick, to be honest.
Not even Sophie Cunningham kept quiet. She called the foul intentional in her own post-game comments, describing how it felt to be hit so hard and emphasizing that she didn't think it was accidental contact. The obvious difference between what Cunningham said and what her own coach initially said added to the dispute. Days later, when the player who was hurt offers a different version of what happened than the coach who was only a few feet away, fans prefer the guy who took the blow to the person doing damage control. Interestingly, not everyone in the locker room turned against White during this whole ordeal. Caitlin Clark strongly backed her head coach after White got heavy criticism for her comments from fans and the media, proving that opinions are really divided even inside the Fever's own locker room. It was clear that a number of players respected White's natural ability to defend a league rival. After seeing Cunningham deal with a serious injury, others likely had entirely different perspectives on everything that was happening around them that week. That split reaction is the most illuminating part of this story. This was never the outcome of a single careless remark made at a press conference by a single coach. It devolved into a discussion about where loyalty should end up in a locker room and whether a long-term coaching relationship with a rival player could ever be more important than sticking up for the person wearing your own jersey while sitting on your own bench in pain. If Stephanie White doesn't immediately and clearly address that specific disparity instead of issuing another well-crafted statement 3 days after the occurrence, this story will keep coming up every time DJ Carrington appears in another headline for the same reason.